Like a month ago, I saw this video showing a different way of reading. It's so weird when it gets to the point where you're just comprehending and not really reading the words in your head. You don't even need to move your eyes because you're locked on the red letter, and I think that's what makes it so fast. It's called Rapid Serial Visual Presentation, or RSVP for short, and I wanted my own. I wanted to create my own version that could flash any text I chose. And so I did. At first, I was thinking about the words going in line, kind of like on this website, so I could be special. Later I realized that it wouldn't really do anything useful, so I just didn't do it. Thanks for the info, I know. To stay organized, I then came up with a list of things I actually wanted my reader to have by the end. I think C or Java are mainly used for applications like this, so I decided to use Python. For the GUI, which is what you see and can interact with, I wanted to do something I've worked with before, and so I chose a Python library called custom tkinter. Using a library is a bit like adding pre-made mods to a game. It simply gives you features someone else has already built. I started by creating a simple window, and window.main loop just updates it. For testing the code, I found a random text and split it into individual words, as you can see right here. Then I made a cycle, which takes the words one by one and draws them out on the screen every some amount of milliseconds, like this. As you can see, it glitches sometimes, and to fix that I drew the text in the main canvas instead of as a label, which helped for some reason, so that's nice. Okay, so that took only about 30 minutes. As you can see, I clearly know what I'm doing. But hey, at least the main mechanic is done, right? Wrong. Remember how I told you about the red letter? The one that's supposed to keep your eyes fixed in one spot. Yeah, at the moment each word is centered normally around itself, but what I actually needed was to align the word around its middle letter, which should always stay in the same spot. It also turns out that coloring one letter of a word isn't something that Python has built in, so I had to figure something out. I need to color one letter of each word close to the middle of the word so that when the user is reading the words, their eyes focus on the middle of the word. This is like exactly what I'm looking for. So first you get half the length of the word, so you can split it into 3 parts evenly, front, middle letter and back. It will just count the first letter of the two as the middle. This then calculates the literal length of the letter based on the font you're using to place it always onto the same spot. Let me just borrow that. And also this, which should put the 3 parts back together. Very cool, very cool. Next, I made a timer function. Basically, it takes 60 seconds and splits it by the words per minute number. That way, the number of words shown in a minute actually matches what you set. I also wanted to increase the time between flashing another word if a sentence ended, so on a dot, I would make the so-called sleep time twice as long. Now it's time to add some controls so I can control the thing. After adding the start-stop button, I switched to dark mode, which was as simple as changing the colors. And to control the speed, I added a slider, which was also part of the custom tkinter library, and made it so I can see its value next to it. Next, the go back button. Ugh. Look, my initial plan was to somehow remember the last place where dot was, and then when I press the button, it would take me back to the word after the word with the dot, to the beginning of the sentence, like here. Yeah, my initial plan. What I ended up doing was adding the ability to go back how many sentences I wanted, not just one. Sounds simple, right? Well, it wasn't. At least for me. Every time I encountered a dot, I would put the word's position into a list. A list is a list... Well, it's a list of numbers, words, or whatever that are sorted like this, from 0. You can add, remove, or modify each of these items by referring to the number of their slots. Nice thing about lists is that you can stack items inside, which is exactly what I used. Each time there is a word with a dot, I stack its position inside. I called it revert list. And each time I would press the go back button, I would remove and teleport to the last item of that list, which would refer to the last position of a word with a dot. You can think of it like building a tower with bricks. As you build, you place bricks on top one by one. If you want to take the tower apart, you don't pull out a random brick from the middle because your tower would fall apart. Instead, you remove the top brick first. Coincidentally, that is also what the pop function does to a list if you tell it to remove an item on the -1st position, so the first from the end. Like this, I could remember every position containing a dot and always know to what position to go back to, even if I already went back a sentence. It was really easy to implement. What? Why do I have to press it 2 times to go back? Now it just teleports me to a random word. So it works the first time, but when I go again and go back in the same sentence, it takes me back to. It's probably because I removed the last position, and because the word I went to is the word after the dot word, it doesn't create that position again, and so it just goes back to the last one it has stored, which is 2 sentences back. After like 3 hours, yes, 3, I fixed most of the issues, being edge cases I talked about like 5 seconds ago, and so I gave it one last run. Okay, so it breaks again when it's at the end of the text. And this should fix it, I think. Like, there isn't anything that could break anymore. Okay, it works. I'm going to sleep. Yes, everything is done. Nice. Let's now compare how fast I can read a completely random text normally versus with my RSVP reader. Random educational text about keyboards. Okay, we can do like 900 maybe. You can try with me. Okay, so 17 seconds. That is quite good, but it was a little too fast for me still. Let's try with the normal reading. 53. That is like way faster. I'll try this again with 800. So 20 seconds. And I was able to read much more clearly now. I like this. This is nice. Okay, goodbye.